You're talking to a native speaker or an examiner. They ask a question and your brain completely locks up. You know the words in your head, but they feel trapped behind a brick wall. You start stumbling, and you can feel your confidence drain away. It's not because your English vocabulary is bad, it's because your brain is trying to do two jobs at the same time. Today, I'm going to give you a 3-step framework called the ACE method that will help you bypass the brain freeze so you can speak instantly, even when you're terrified. Let's get started. Let's call our problem the translation trap. This happens when someone asks you a question in English and your brain forces you into a 5-step loop. First, you hear the question in English. Second, your brain translates it into your native language. Third, you think of the answer in your native language. Fourth, you translate that answer back into English while trying to check your grammar. And finally, you speak. Now, that entire loop might only take 5 or 6 seconds, but in a real conversation or an exam room, 5 seconds of dead silence feels like forever. Of course, native speakers and advanced learners don't do this. They think directly in English, and that is our ultimate goal. And with practice, you will get there. But what can you do right now to shorten that gap? You need a system to buy your brain processing time, and that's exactly what the ACE method is for. Now, if you've been on my channel for a while, you already know my signature 3S+1 method for structuring your Part 1 answers. But I often hear students say, Kevin, what happens if my brain freezes and I can't even think of that first statement? Think of the ACE method as your emergency lifeline. It doesn't replace the 3S+1 so much as fuels it. ACE is the engine that gets your brain moving so you can smoothly execute your 3S+1 structure under extreme exam pressure. They work hand in hand, and today I'll show you exactly how. But always remember, any framework is a tool and not a rule. Use what works best for you. As you advance, you'll find you'll need these explicit frameworks less and less because high-level fluency will simply become second nature. The first step of the ACE method is to acknowledge the question. We have to say something immediately, otherwise the examiner might think we didn't hear them or don't understand what they're saying. By actively acknowledging the question, you buy your brain about 3 seconds of pure thinking time without staying silent. And we do this using some frictionless fillers. These are natural phrases that native speakers use every day to collect their thoughts. And here are a few you can practice right now. To be completely honest, I haven't thought about that in a long time, but that's a hard question to answer, but I think these phrases rely entirely on muscle memory. You don't have to think to say them. And while your mouth is delivering these beautiful and natural phrases, your brain can work quietly to find your actual answer. Phrases like these are also a massive upgrade over robotic, old-school fillers like, "That is an interesting question," which instantly sounds memorized to an examiner like myself. Once you've bought yourself these 2 to 3 seconds, you can move on to step 2, which is connect. Connect with the topic by anchoring your answer to your own life, a friend, or your home country. And you can glide into this smoothly using frames like, "in my experience," or "from what I've seen around me." Now, I need to tell you a major secret here. Stop trying to find the perfect or most intellectual answer. There's no prize in the IELTS exam for sounding like a walking encyclopedia. In a stressful situation, your brain will naturally struggle to find abstract facts, but things that you have personal experience on are always there to be talked about. Connection is about taking your own personal experience and applying it to the questions the examiner is asking. The final step is to extend your thoughts so you don't awkwardly trail off with a weak and yeah, or start rambling in circles. To wrap up your response cleanly, just give one simple concluding statement. A simple anchor phrase like, "So that's why I think," is all it takes to give your answer a beautiful and professional finish. Let's see exactly how this looks in action. Imagine an interviewer asks you, "What is your favorite type of book to read?" I like sci-fi books because they're interesting and yeah. Honestly, I don't have much time to read as I'd like to these days. But if I have to choose, I like science fiction. In fact, I just finished reading Dune and I loved how the story takes place on another planet but still feels completely real. So yeah, I definitely say sci-fi is my absolute favorite. When you listen to these two responses, you can see that ACE isn't a trick. It directly targets your fluency and your coherence score. Examiners don't penalize you for taking a second to think. Even Band 9 speakers hesitate. What they do penalize for you is unnatural hesitation caused by looking for vocabulary. And ACE helps you to stop those awkward silences and turn them into native sounding transitions. Now, understanding this framework on a YouTube video is a great first step, but executing it flawlessly when the clock is ticking and an examiner is staring at you is a completely different challenge. You need to practice. And as I've said so many times on this channel, you need to practice out loud. Record your answers, listen back, and critically evaluate them. If you want help with that and you want to stop guessing what your mistakes are, then I invite you to join one of my upcoming IELTS live classes. You won't just watch videos. You'll have online classes with me and a small group of other students. And you'll get a chance to practice these frameworks and get direct, real-time feedback from a former examiner, me. The link to apply for the next class is in the description and on your screen right now. So let's start practicing together right now in the comments. Use the ACE method to answer this question. What is your favorite way to spend a weekend? Start your comment with one of our frictionless fillers. I'll personally reply to as many as I can with direct feedback. Until next time, happy studies.